So our big break for us was we had been releasing music independently, just single after single after single, and just kind of chipping away at it. And we finally had a song that we released. It's called Your Misery. I think it was November of 2020. And the people at Sirius XM, somehow one of their people heard it, saw it on YouTube, and they're like, yo, this is great.
Cool, man. Well, I'm Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music and how you got to where you are now. And you guys have an awesome tour and everything else going up. I'd love to chat about.
Yeah. Life is pretty cool right now. We got a tour with Beartooth Trivium coming up, Malevolence as well. Actually, we're going to be heading out in about a week and a half from now. We'll be heading out. First show's in Pennsylvania. We're here in Arizona, so it's a little bit of distance we got to cover.
That's exciting, man.
It's going to be huge. It's one of the biggest tour we've ever done so far. So yeah, we can't complain about the travel. It's going to be so sick.
Yeah, dude. And you recently signed to Fearless. I'd love to hear that story and everything else.
Yeah. So with Fearless, what really happened was,
sorry, I'm going to ask you about it. I want to just get real quick on your kind of backstory, and then I want you to tell me about Fearless.
Yeah,
sorry,
sure.
I'm getting ahead of myself. Just because there's exciting shit happening for you guys. So first off, you said from Arizona, born and raised. What part of Arizona?
So I grew up in Gilbert, pretty much my whole life. And then I live in East Mesa now, which is like 20 minutes east. So, if people know Arizona, like the East Valley, which is like pretty much we're outside of the city. It's kind of like there's a lot of farmland out there, and it's really built up lately. So pretty suburban now, all gridlocked. It's just like, you got streetlights every other mile. It's just consistent. Traffic everywhere now. So, but it used to be farm. There's still some cows behind my parents' house, which is cool.
Nice.
But yeah, I grew up there, and then basically have lived in the East Valley of Arizona for a while now. So, yeah, it's a nice area. I love it.
Did you grow up with other people in the band, or were you?
Yeah.
Did y'all go to high school together or anything like that?
Yeah. So what's funny is Tyler, our drummer, me and him went to the same high school, but we were in two different classes. I graduated a year before him.
Okay.
And so in my graduating class, because Gilbert blew up, like huge. It was a town, and now it's like a massive city. And like it was like one of the most popular places to move to in like the early 2000s. And so my graduating class was like over 700, almost 800 kids in my senior class graduating. So like,
wow,
there's a lot of people at my school that I knew of, but I did not know, and they had no idea who I was. And
I had a massive high school. Not to try to be that guy. Well, yeah, we had 1,200 in our graduating class.
Oh my gosh.
It was the biggest to ever graduate from any high school in San Diego County. So it was like they after our year, they had already opened up another high school. So like it went significantly in half from there. But 800 is still a lot of kids, man.
Yeah, I think we lived the same life then, because I remember they brought in they had like portable units they would park out in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they like set up these portables that we would have our classes in, because there wasn't enough room in the actual building.
We had the same thing. Yeah, they had like there were like these trailers in the front in the front parking lot, and then there was like 4 or 5 in the back and behind the school. Is really
it was a weird time. And what was interesting is, so Tyler graduated a year after me, and so I had friends, and like my brother was friends with his brother and some of my friends, but I never hung out with the dude or anything. And then later on, after graduated high school, I got really into music, and throughout my college years, that's where I started developing and did some music business, and joined a choir for the first time in my life, and like just started like really leaning into that, musical, theatrical kind of skill set that I have, because early on, junior high, high school, like I played band for a couple of years. I played trombone, if anyone wants to know. I'll probably never bring it on stage, but maybe one day we'll find a way.
Was that the first instrument you learned, trombone?
Yeah, so that was like 5th grade. I remember I wanted to learn, kind of looking back, I wish I did. I wanted to learn how to play violin or like viola or cello or something, but that was only because the cute girls played in orchestra. And then all my dudes were like, no, dude, you got to play in the band with the guys. And I'm like, all right, fine. So peer pressure. There you go. Don't listen to it.
Yeah.
but yeah, that was my early exposure. I sang a lot in my church growing up. My mom always had me singing solos and stuff like that. And I'm still pretty involved with music and whatnot in my church. So that's always been a kind of a set thing in my life, playing music. I've always had a spot to have that creative outlet. And then,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it wasn't until college years that I started developing that. And then through mutual friends, Tyler, we got connected, and then Jared and Brandon quickly after, and we started playing shows. And then of course we brought on Kai, our bassist, in 2019, and so we started playing shows 2016. We were a 4-piece. We'd backtrack our bass because we're like, who needs bass? So sorry to all the bass players out there. Um, we appreciate it now.
Sure. So
But
you didn't
yeah,
start playing in a band or anything like that until you were in college?
super late bloomer on that stuff. Like it just, I don't know. My mom always wanted me to do like Broadway and stuff like that. I'm like, Mom, like I don't want to be like, I looked at the theater kids in high school and like I was like, I don't want to be like them. Like I was very like judgmental in high school, and like I didn't want to be it was weird. It's like I knew like the way I talked and the way I was with people, like I could click with those people like no other. Like I didn't take any effort to just be having a good time and be a dork. And like I remember my band classes were like super fun, like just dorking around all the time, like having fun. But then I'd be out like, at the lunch table looking around because man, these people are being really weird. And I'm like super uncomfortable in my own skin. Like, oh, I don't want to be weird. And like I fought that for the longest time. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like these are my people. Like I am inherently like a doofus. Like it's just what I am. And like that's my style. Like I love making people laugh. I love entertaining people. I love playing music. And any of the arts, I kind of pushed back on that for a long time just because I was so self-conscious and like afraid of what people thought of me. And I think in my college years, you kind of grow out of that a little bit and you stop caring what people think. And I think it's just a part of life. I feel like we all go through that where we care too much what people think. And then we eventually like, what does this even matter? Like, I just want to be happy and I want to do what I love doing. And that's where I made that shift, was in college. So it took a while. Some people figure it out sooner and some people later, but I'm glad that I did. And
Yeah.
it's really cool to see where I'm at now compared to, back then.
No,
So.
that's amazing. So once you guys, at what point were you like, okay, I want to be in a band, or was there like a moment that you can remember that you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm in college. I should try to be in a band. I mean, it sounds like you were
Let's
in,
start a band.
chorus or whatever, but like, how did that even become a
So
thing?
I had a few friends that were really into the scene. So like 2010, 2011, 2012. I went to a few shows with my buddy. He made me go to it was like Pierce the Veil, Bring Me the Horizon. Um, and I think Pierce the Veil was headlining. Silverstein might have been on it. I can't remember.
Mhm.
But it was like early on, like it was before Bring Me had dropped their Sempiternal album. So they were still running the album before then. And then I think it was Pierce the Veil was the headliner. And that was like my first exposure to it. And I was like, yo, this is sick. Like this was so cool to see it live. Um, Gave me so much better context of like what that music is and how it works. Because when you hear it on a recording, and a lot of people, you think of like parents or like, the old heads that are like, oh, they're screaming, what are they even saying? Like I kind
Right,
of fell
right.
into that, like, oh, like it's cool. Like I can listen to it when I work out, but it's like not my favorite. And then once I saw it live, it just completely changed my mindset. I was like, this is like so much energy, so much emotion, and like the it just felt genuine. It was really
Mhm.
cool. So that's where my first exposure to it. And then I just had a buddy, me and him used to do vocal covers on YouTube all the time. We would cover like Pierce the Veil songs, King for a Day, or we would do, Memphis May Fire, or We Came as Romans. Like we cover all the core bands just because we could. And like
That's
looking back,
awesome.
I think so our band channel Archetypes Collide on YouTube, it's still, they're buried in the archives somewhere if you look hard enough, but they're pretty embarrassing. But part of me kind of just wants to leave them up just to be like, this is funny. Like
Yeah, why
losers,
not?
and like it's
I'm gonna go
awkward.
find him now.
Yeah, and I remember like it was funny because I saw a TikTok the other day of Noah Sebastian from Bad Omens. And
Uh-huh.
I remember, I didn't even realize, I didn't make the connection. I remember seeing him back in the day. He was like one of the vocal cover guys and stuff like that. And I remember seeing like, I saw a TikTok of one of his old covers. And like, dude, I remember watching that one back in like 2013 and being like, oh, I could do that better. Like I should try that one. Like it's competitive. And so
Right.
it was cool to like make that connection. Like, oh, that's him now. Well, shoot, he's doing pretty good.
Yeah,
So
he's killing it. I mean, Bad Omens
yeah,
is selling out everything. It's
they're
insane.
insane. They're so talented. So it's cool to see that progression as well, which that's what I like. Like, hey, let people see where we started, and like the entry level of it is not, it's basically bare bones. Hey, if you want it, just go for it. Right. So
Right.
um yeah, that's where it all started for me.
And then were you like, once the band's going, are you writing songs and you're playing what early shows? Like, how did the like next level happen? Were you guys just playing locally? Because I know you got kind
Yeah.
of seeked out by the basis of Beartooth, right?
Yeah.
But
So
that
what
must have been a little bit further down the line.
Yeah, so we started playing shows 2016. What was interesting is we released an EP in 2014. It was me, Tyler, and one of our other friends who played guitar, and we recorded it, 4-song EP, released it, and we were like, "Hey, we release it, then we'll finally get some guitarists that want to play with us." Because before the EP, it was like nobody wants to play with us, and our bassist at the time, Caesar, he was like, well, shoot, I'll just learn how to play guitar. And he was a really good bassist. So like he knew how to play, stringed instruments. So he was like, screw it. I'll just write guitar parts and we can do it.
Mhm.
And so we wrote a 4-song EP, released it. And for basically a year and a half, we still had a drought of nobody wanted to join our band. We're like,
Oh
yo, like
wow.
no guitarists want to play with us. And like, I'm not an insanely skilled guitarist. And like I know enough to get by. I know enough to communicate, and I can play. I can play acoustic well, and I can, play rhythm and stuff like that. And I know enough to be able to write songs and like understand the functionality of it all. But it was never enough to actually play live. I'd much rather have someone else who can shred, which we
Right.
do now. But yeah, we went through a weird phase where nobody wanted to join, and it was like, yo, what the heck? So our buddy Caesar, he went off to school in New York, Berkeley School of Music. He's a super talented dude. And so he left the band. It was just me and Tyler, and we were just kind of like, well, I guess that's it. And then I found Brandon, our guitarist now, on a Facebook group of like, I think it was Christian Musicians Exchange or something like that, like Arizona. It was hilarious. He was like looking for a band, and I can even go back to our old messages and find like, hey dude, what's up? Here's our EP we released. We got this and this, and we love bands like this, and it's like super cringy.
That's
But he
funny.
was down to meet up, and he had a mutual friend that played guitar, and then we had a 4-piece, and there we were, ready to play shows. So um, yeah, it was a weird phase, but it's cool to look back on, not from like I guess a little bit of like an ego stroke, but like to look back and be like, man, there were so many people that like came through and were like, hey, like we want to do something big. We want to do something big. And nobody wanted to be a part of it. But yet like me and Tyler kind of just stuck through
Yeah,
and
you just
like
kept
just kept
going.
chipping away. And eventually we found the right people. And they're still with us now. Like our chemistry is insane, which I think is probably the biggest thing for us that's gotten us to this point is like one, the consistency is like, yeah, nobody wants to play with us. It's been a year or two, and it's like, whatever, we'll find something eventually, right? And then it works out because we're just continually trying to improve ourselves. And it's been interesting because throughout the process of bringing extra guitarists on the band now, I feel like I've grown more as a musician where like, oh, I understand how certain things are played out and whatever. Now I can actually, I'm at the point where I can, write music as well, like full band arrangements and stuff like that. So it's cool when you surround yourself with people that are pretty talented, how that tends to kind of
Rub off on you.
osmosis. Yeah,
Yeah,
it tends to
yeah.
rub off on everyone. And I think everyone's work ethic, everyone's, just consistency with being good people. Um, it gets you pretty far, and it's done so far. So um, yeah, it's
Yeah, I
cool to
mean,
look
you're
back
on
on.
this huge tour and like you got this record deal and everything else. But before that, like what was the kind of like was there an early milestone or early
Yeah.
validation that you guys
So
got as a band you can think of?
yeah, there was one point where was kind of like our break that we got. Like we finally got a break. Um, like I said, we've been independent local band playing local shows from 2016 all the way. Our first tour was last year. We did 2 tours with the Amity Affliction and Secrets, and that was
Oh
amazing.
wow.
Before that, we ventured once into California and played a show there, and it was terrible. Won't talk about it. That was like, yeah,
What
just
part of California?
oh, dude, I don't even know. It was close enough to Compton.
Okay.
That's all I remember. Like, yo, where the hell are we? Like, where are we going? And
Yeah.
it was funny. I was like, oh, we get to see the world. I'm like, oh, this is cool, I guess. So we played at like this random arena where it smelled like a farm. There were cows and bulls and stuff. It was like a rodeo place where they would do I would assume they had like rodeos and stuff they do on the weekends and whatnot. And it was weird, dude.
Interesting.
But anyways, I'm getting distracted. So our big break for us was we had been releasing music independently, just single after single after single, and just kind of chipping away at it. And we finally had a song that we released. It's called Your Misery. I think it was November of 2020. And the people at Sirius XM, somehow one of their people heard it, saw it on YouTube, and they're like, yo, this is great. We want to give you guys a platform to reach new fans. And so what was cool about Sirius XM is they have this Octane station where they have every once in a while they do is called the Accelerators, which is they'll pick like 3 random bands of like new, nobody knows who they are. Let's give them a platform and start playing the heck out of them. And like, when I mean, like, we're getting our song played like 7 times a day for like 2 months. Yeah, I'm like serious. Like, it was like, and the end of the year, we saw the check that happens, you get in the mail from getting satellite playing. We're like, holy cow. Like, they're really like, they saw something in us. And it was like,
and you make a lot more money from Sirius than you do from terrestrial radio.
Yeah.
I worked in radio for like, almost 20 years on terrestrial radio.
It blew us away.
It's crazy how much more they pay on Sirius, but that's awesome, dude. So they kind of found this song, and we're just, I mean, to get played 7 times a day, that's a lot.
It's absurd.
Of spins.
Absurd.
That's a lot of spins. I mean, when I worked the radio station I was helping program, we would play like an A artist, like the artist that a song that you would hear it felt like all the time, like all on alternative radio, our station, you would play every other hour.
Yeah.
So I mean, and then that was a song that like everyone's like, oh my god, that song's so overplayed.
Yep.
Like, and like to get 7 spins a day, that's a lot. That's a lot.
It was even at like the slowest when they were running that. It was probably at least minimum 5 times a day. We had this tracker online that we could see. And like, I remember for the week, our song was like number 3 most played on their station. Like, it was like, we were like, yo, what are we doing? Like, what's wrong with these people? Like, what are they doing? Right? Like, this is insane.
Yeah. They must have got great feedback because
I mean, really
quickly
it was
people would have been like,
we didn't have any manager. We didn't have it was just the 5 of us. We're like, yo, like, this is really cool. And like, our music video on YouTube started picking up and getting more traction. And so what was cool is throughout that process, Your Misery, that song that we released, that was a song we traveled to Ohio right when the world shut down in March of 2020. And Ashi produced that song. He was a part of writing the song with us and involved in that process. So Ashi obviously saw, oh my God, like, they're getting, like, things are starting to pick up. Ashi's manager, Tom, who manages Beartooth, he's managed Siler. Even back in the day, it was like Woe Is Me and like a bunch of like the core bands. Like, everyone knows Tom. Tom knows everyone. Like, it's insane. And his connections he had. And Tom came to us with Ashi saying, hey, we think obviously you guys are killing it. We would like to take this to the next level. And they're talking like we're going to get a label deal. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. And we're like, what? Like, do you know who we are? Like, we couldn't even get a guitarist to play for us like 3 years ago. Like, what do you, like, and so that was really cool. It was nerve wracking at first because it's like we had such a tight group of people that we didn't want to screw it up by bringing someone else in that was more businessy or more, because they have their own motives or whatever. And throughout the meetings with Tom and Ashi, it was clear to see that, hey, these guys have gotten to where they are because they're genuinely like good people that have the same work ethic as we do, that have the same drive. And to bring them on our team to take it to the next level, it was a no-brainer. And then quickly after doing that with them, we were talking with Andy from Fearless Records, which he's the guy. And we had a meeting with him, and he loved what we were doing. And then we got legal, and we got a deal.
Wow.
And it was the sickest thing ever. It was so cool. So
yeah, I mean, getting Fearless is a legendary label. I mean, and to have the co-sign by not only Sirius, but Ashi, of Beartooth,
Yeah.
and all these things happening for you guys. That must have been like obviously huge validation. And with that, and that song doing well, were you guys playing bigger shows? Like what else kind of came along
Yeah.
with the success of Your Misery?
So what was cool was last year we announced our signing to Fearless in February. We did a tour of the Amity Affliction from March to April. That was our first tour ever supporting them. Huge bands, sellouts. Like we got to play across all of the US. It was insane. And
Wow.
after that, we had a bunch of festivals. We played some Danny Wimmer festivals. So we did like Welcome to Rockville in Florida. That was in May. We did Louder Than Life in Kentucky. We played Aftershock in Sacramento. And like all three of those festivals were massive, like
Oh, it was
thousands.
huge.
Like you couldn't see the end of the crowds. And I was just like, for me, like it's tunnel vision. Like I see like the first 3 rows of people and I can like engage with them. And then like after that, I'm just like, and I have like decent vision, you know, like I worked at a LASIK place, got my eyes fixed for free. It was great. Love those people. I don't work there anymore, but I do appreciate everything they did for me.
That's funny.
But yeah, it's just insane. Like the crowds, like we're playing to, and it was kind of like an aha moment for me after we had played Louder Than Life in Kentucky. I was like, yo, that was really cool. Like that was a lot of fun. And then I'm looking at the photos our photographer was taking, and I'm like, wait, hold up, is that our set? And like the crowd you couldn't see the end of it. And I was like, there's no way that just happened. Like was I there? Because it was just straight tunnel vision. Like we're just doing what we've been doing, you know, at a 30 people at a show back in, you know, freaking Tempe, Arizona. Like it just all felt so natural to us. And so it's really cool to see, like you said, the validation of being able, like certain bands taking us out on the road with them or playing massive festivals and being able to hold our own and like entertain people and give them a good time, you know, like that's just a really good feeling. And then of course having a label that wants to, you know, essentially put a bunch of money into what you do
Invest in you,
and
right?
just completely like roid it out. Like, let's take what you do on your local level and let's take it to the big stage, you know, and to have someone and a whole team at Fearless that wants to do that and like sees the potential in us to go, you know, make it big. Like, yeah, life is cool.
Unbelievable, man. That's awesome. And you have an album as well.
Yeah. So we just dropped, is our first debut album with Fearless. We released that. It was at the end of March. I don't even know what day it is anymore. It's
Yeah, it was only a couple
blur.
weeks ago, I think, right?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. We dropped our debut self-titled album. 12 tracks, like full on, like we've never released more than like 4 songs in like one moment, and we released 12. Like so sick. And so and with that album, like the response has been insane. We had a song, we did a music video called Destiny, and like people are just loving it. And it's really cool to see just all these people that there used to be a point where like I knew everyone that listened to us because they were all my friends or my family or my grandma or like, you know, like, you know, you play a show locally and you see all your friends like, okay, that's cool. And then like we played a headliner show last year, just kind of a one-off. And there were so many people there that knew who I was, but I had no idea who they were. And it was like the weirdest feeling because I walked out in the crowd like expecting like, oh, I'll just say hi to some friends or whatever. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh crap, there's a lot of people staring at me and I don't like this.
Oh,
Like
wow.
it was
Yeah.
weird. It was so weird. But it was such like a cool experience to be like, wow, like we actually have a lot of people that believe in us and like want to be a part of this. And you know, like I said, from the level that, you know, we put in the work, you know, we put in the time of recording on our own, putting our own finances in it. I mean, to do the trip to Ohio to record over there, like all 5 of us had to drop like over $2,000 just to like make it happen with paying for recording, flights, stuff like that, like of our own money. Like we're like,
Right.
hey, do we want it? We got to chip in. I remember I was like playing tax collector, like, hey guys, you know, hey, we got a few more months. Can we all throw another $100 in, you know, at the end of this month or whatever to kind of build up our things so we could pay for what we need to do. And like that was tough. It was not easy, you know, like we're all, you know, busting our asses just to make some money to be able to do this. And like I said, eventually you just keep chipping away. We got our break. So
Yeah,
really
it
cool.
all paid off in the end for
Yeah.
sure. The album that came out, are those songs that was that part of the batch of songs you recorded in Ohio, or is this way later?
No, so that's after. So the stuff we recorded with Ashi early on with like Your Misery. There's a few other songs. It was there's another Undertow was one of them.
Mhm.
There's a couple of, it was 4 songs total that we did
Yeah.
there.
And then these are all the new ones are all fresh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was sweet because Fearless is like, hey, we would like to buy out the masters of what you have, which, hey, sounds good to me. We'll buy ourselves a trailer and a van to go tour. Like, great deal. But then they fully funded album, all new songs. I mean, we have a total, technically there's the hard copy album and the vinyl have 14 songs on it because there's 2 like bonus songs that we put in
cool.
there. So yeah, 14 songs. And that was over the span of like 2.5, probably 3 months that we were going back and forth to Ohio to record those. So
So you recorded this album in Ohio as well?
yeah, we worked with Ashi again, and then
Okay.
we brought in a couple other people because Fearless, obviously, you know people, and those people know people, and you have connections, which is probably the best part about like having management, having a booking agent, having a label is like now their friends are your friends, and it's like, oh, well, this is cool. Like we have a lot of resources to pull from now. So
Mhm.
what's cool is we had John Everhard come in and hang out with us and do some extra production on the songs. And so he's done stuff for, I think lately, like Skillet, they dropped a new song he worked on, like synth and production type stuff he does. And he's so much fun to have in the studio because he's just a super normal looking dude. You would never think that he writes like crazy music like that. So we had him in the mix with Ashi, and then we actually had one song where Landon Tours from the Plot New came out for a day. We're like, hey, let's just write a song and see what happens. And we literally in like 6 hours wrote a whole song, tracked, recorded, have a good day. And it was like the coolest experience because he's obviously a freak, like super talented, right?
Mhm.
And he came into the mix and it was like Ashi, me, and the guys, and like just the ability to like co-write and like hold our own and be like, hey, let's do this. Oh, I hear this. Why would we play that part like that? And like this song just and like came together. It was a cool testament to like, oh, like, yeah, of course it would, it'd work well because we've been writing songs by ourselves for the past, 5, 6, 7 years. So it was cool to see leading up to that, oh, we have a professional, someone who really runs it. He's like the guy who writes everything. And to have someone like him come in the mix and us be able to just in stride with him, write a song together was a really cool experience.
Oh, bad. Yeah, because I would imagine it almost being a little bit you could get a little nervous or whatever. Like you got this person that's got all these credits to their name in the studio, and it's like, oh, like, but
Yeah.
to have it just vibe like that and come out with a song that quickly, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've heard people speak about that before when you do co-writes. You like some people you've never written with before. There's a chance that, you sometimes like even with us, like we go to write a song and it just like you hit a wall and it's just like, well, I don't know what to do with this. So it just kind of, it happens. That's what I mean. It's just songwriting. That's just 101. Like you're going to write songs that suck and they don't work out. And it's just what it is. But I feel like for every like 10 songs that you write that suck, you usually end up with like 3 or 4 that are pretty damn good. So it's like, it's a cool balance. So him coming in was always like, oh shoot, like this guy, he's pretty iconic, I'd say, in our scene. Like he's a pretty prominent dude.
Mhm.
And of course his band, I mean, they're blowing up. So yeah, just to have him in the room and like right off the bat, he was like super down to earth, open to do whatever we want to do and just try to write a fun song, that would be fun to play live. And I think we accomplished that pretty well. So it was definitely validating for sure.
That's amazing, man. And congratulations on the record deal and the tour. I
Yeah,
mean, you guys are touring with Beartooth, which is
it was bound to
huge.
happen.
Yeah,
We've been
right.
nudging them for a while. Like, hey, we're like the little brother, like, yo, when are you gonna take us? You take me over to freaking Applebee's for dinner or something like that. Like, when are you gonna take us out?
Yeah, no, totally. But that's
Yeah.
cool,
So
man. I mean, to have him, help you guys out in that way too, and then put you on the road, especially on such a
yeah.
big tour.
Yeah. I think for us, it's just another huge step for us to kind of prove ourselves and be like, yeah, we can, we can hold our own, we can pull our own weight, and like we can leave people walking away from one of our shows being like, wow, I need to see that again. That was so much fun. Like it's an experience that people can actually, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it can happen when bands play a lot. You can go to a show and be like, oh, that kind of felt like they were just going through the motions or
Yeah,
whatever.
they're
Like
just phoning
kind of
it in or
we
whatever.
all
Sure.
and like we have to battle that ourselves, you get consistently playing shows night after night and stuff like that. But I think the biggest thing for us is like, our goal is to make sure that people walk away from our shows just knowing that they had a good time, the smile on their face, like we're entertainers, like I love, like I said, going back to like my childhood, is like, I love making people smile. I love making people laugh, have a good time, and just bringing up the energy in the room. And it's like, this band, it gives me a platform to do that on a huge scale. So it's really cool to see all those attributes and those flinches that I had as a kid growing up. I finally get to play those out and not have to worry about, what people think about me. So it's cool to be able to take it to the bigger platform with this tour. So it'll be really cool.
Amazing, dude. Well, thank you so much, Kyle, for doing this and for being patient. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
The tardiness, but thank you again so much for doing this. I have one more quick question for you.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Oh man. I mean, personally, just from my own experience, and everyone, runs into stuff in their own ways. Like, it just happens. I think the biggest thing for us as a band, in general, like that's led to our success, is we've just kept being consistent. Even if the product wasn't like 100%, maybe it was like 90%. It wasn't as good as we could make it. We were still like, hey, we need to get this song out. Let's make it happen, or, hey, we don't have a guitarist. Well, okay, that guy didn't want in. Let's try to find someone else. Always keeping that kind of pressing in on it where you want to go, because eventually you'll find the right people that want to be a part of it. And I think the biggest thing for us is when you surround yourself with a team like we have with our manager and with the label and whatever, is like, you got to surround yourself with the right people. You got to have that chemistry. So we had that even before management, even before the label. Is like, we had 5 dudes that just enjoy hanging out with each other and playing music. And like, simple as that. We got 5 dudes that want to hang out and that have a solid work ethic, that want to make music. You're set. That's all you need. It's hard to find. Like I said, it took us, I don't know, 3, 4 years, 5 years to like actually find like a solid group of people. But like, if you want it, it's there. You just gotta keep pushing it. So be consistent. Things will start working out. Bringing it backward.